In this video, we will learn how to export from Rhino your 3D model and how to import it in twinmotion. And we will also learn what kind of basic settings regarding materials you should do in twinmotion afterwards. You can see this 3D model, and the first thing is what we do, we check the units. And I definitely recommend that you work with meters, and you also should see that the absolute tolerance is not too low. You can just see that this is now 1 millimeter. If you have it like this, then you have a tolerance of 1 centimeter, and this is definitely not enough. So for a normal architectural model, this is more or less fine. One thing is really important when we talk about windows. It's really important for twinmotion that these windows are single planes. If I look at this window, then you can see it's just a single plane, and no double plane, no box at all. And it's also good to know that sometimes it's difficult to apply glass material in twinmotion because you just have to apply it from the front of the surface. It's this one. So just see that you probably apply it from the inside of the room, or just isolate your windows to apply it properly in twinmotion. The next thing you should look at that your model is more or less in the origin of your X, Y, and Z direction, so it's not somewhere completely out of 0, 0 in X and Y and Z direction, which is absolutely fine here. If you see the layer structure, it makes sense to have a nice layer structure in Rhino anyhow. We work with sublayers. In twinmotion, you will not have sublayers anymore. So if you think about reorganizing it, and you don't have to do it, you can't drag and drop your layers. You can just select sublayers and move them up. And now I go down again. This is just something I would like to show you, but it's not really important because you can keep the structure like it is. In twinmotion, you will import your Rhino model via materials. So it's really important that every object has a material, that you export via material in layers, and that the material name is properly, so it's not like wall white or matte titanium. It's more like window, ceiling, and things like this. So the first thing I do, I just reset these kind of materials because I'm not really happy with the naming. For this, I go into material. If you don't see material, you just go into options and you can switch on the material window. And what I do, I can select all the materials. By the way, this was all the objects. This was not such great. I just go and select this one. And you can also see I don't need plaster 1, plaster 2, plaster 3, plaster 4. I want to have it clean. I select all the materials. I hold my shift key, and then I just say right mouse click and delete, and it asks me, do you want to delete all 10 materials? Yes, I want to delete all of them. There are still some left. I just say again delete, and now we have 0 materials in my scene. If I go to my layer manager again, you also see that there are no materials in my layer manager anymore. Okay, let's start from scratch. I go into material, and I just say I want to have a new material, and for example like a custom material, and I just name this 0.1 wall, and that's my first material. And I just give this a color picker. Sorry, this was wrong. I want to have my color picker, and I start with a gray material. This is for the walls, and everything else I can leave. It's not important to me because I want to change it into twinmotion. I just go into custom again. I just 0C and name this ceiling. I just give this also a material, for example, like this one. I just go inside again and just say custom material 0.1 and name this floor. And I also give this a different color. It's just, the color is just to be able to differentiate your objects somehow like this. And now I want to have more like less important structural things, and I just say 0.2 and name this glass. And it could be, by the way, now a glass material. Why not? That's fine. I also give this a little bit of a different color. I want to differentiate the colors. I just say it's this greenish, light greenish thing. And again, I go into 0 point and name this stairs. And I give this a material somehow like this. And the last thing I do, I just say 0 0.2 and window frame, and I also give this a material color so it looks different, somehow like this. That's fine. Okay, the next thing I will do, I will just apply these materials to the layers. You can go into layers and you just say a material, for example, like here glass, and I just double click on this and I just select glass, and here we go. The glass is inside, but this is too much work for me. I just want to do it differently. I just go into materials and I just say right click on walls and I just say assign to layers. And now I go through my layer structure. By the way, you can make this smaller and bigger, it's obvious. And I just select all the layers or the sub layers which where this material should be applied to. And if I now go back into layer, you can already see that this is applied to, and I will do it with all the other materials, and then we continue our video. Okay, I finished this process. If I just go back to the layer manager, then you can see what it looks like. And there are some layers which I didn't apply a material to. And these are the main layers. If you are not sure if there's any object on your layer, like the main layer of floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, then it definitely makes sense also to give this layer a material. For example, it's a material or wall to be on the safe side. Otherwise, the objects will not be imported or just exported, or will just get a random material. So I would fill this, but you really have to be aware of your main structure and layer manager. Is this a sub-object, sub-layer structure with objects, and does the main layer also has objects? So then I would apply material. So I just go again into material, just say right click, assign to material to layers, and I just select all these open layers. Windows is probably not the best idea, but anyhow, I will just fill this now. And let's see, somehow like this. This looks good. There's one layer which is hidden, so I don't have to apply material. And then I do the next thing with the window frames, and I fill the last gaps. It's windows here, doors, windows, doors, and this looks good. And here we go. Every layer and sub layer has a material right now. Before we export the whole model, and you can export selected, there's one thing I recommend doing. I would just see that all materials are applied to layers. You don't have to do this, but it's easier in terms of control and organization. So I just go into properties. I have selected my whole or all objects. I go into material, and you just see that there's called various. This just means some objects are have the material applied by layers, and some probably is like this, that one object has its own material. I don't want to have this right now. I just say use layer material, and you can see if I just said use layer material and I select it again, then you can be sure every object has the material of the layer. There are different kind of formats where how you can export your layers. You can export it as a SketchUp file, or you can also export it as a FBX. I will do both, but right now I really recommend to export it as an FBX, because there are problems with the export function from Rhino to SketchUp. I will show it to you, and we do both. I just choose SketchUp, Escape, and just say Rhino to twinmotion, and just go into save and just say SketchUp 2017. This is absolutely fine. And now it's exporting. This error, don't care about this. It's not important. This is fine. Next thing is I just go into export selected and I just select motion builder. This is the FBX format. And I just also call it Rhino to twinmotion. And here I have to do some settings. I want to export only the meshes. Everything else is fine. And what you can do is you can choose what kind of polygon counts, how dense your mesh will be. And you have to click on the preview. And now it's calculating the density of your mesh. I just go into low and you can see probably a small difference. It only has an impact if you have round and organic objects. So if there's a sphere or something or an organic design, then you really have to play with this. Also like for 3D printing, that you have nice objects, not too complex, not too many faces, but also definitely not a few polygons. But with this kind of design, it doesn't make a difference. Okay, we are now in twinmotion. I go into File and into Import. I navigated to my export folder, and the first thing I do, I will just import my FBX file. And the settings are always the same. I just say collapse by material, fix UI texture. I'm not really aware of this. I just switch it on, but it's not important. Meter is the same. We can leave it like this. And I just import. And if I zoom out, you can see my object. This is my import object. And if I go into my scenograph, you can just see in my pull-up menu Rhino to twinmotion that it's really organized like my material, which is really nice. And if I apply my material to my objects, I just go into materials and for example, like concrete, I just drag and drop it to my wall. And I can drag and drop to all materials, and I, for example, use this one for my ceiling. And if you want to see it properly, I also sometimes just say isolate selections, and here I can see all my windows. Some are like this, and I will talk about this later on. But with all the materials, I just say two-sided on. That's a really important thing. We have a look at this in some minutes. I go in isolate selection and just apply my material to my windows. And I also already switch on isolate two-sided on. Sorry, two-sided on. Use, and now I just say I do it with my ceiling, and whatever kind of material, not really important to me, like this. I already did it, by the way, before, doesn't matter. And here also two-sided on, really important. Staircase, isolate selection, and I isolate this, and I zoom in a little bit with my staircase, and I also just give this whatever kind of material. I can also just take wood material, for example, like this one. And what I would like to show you already here, the staircase, they don't look like in my Rhino model. If I go into my settings and I'll just switch on two-sided on, then you can see the difference. And this is a really important thing. You can only see the material from the front side, from your normal side of your surface, of your polygon. The polygon from the back is transparent. There's no material if you don't want this. And normally we don't want this because sometimes we make mistakes in our modeling because it's not so important to us. Always use two-sided on and many mistakes will be gone. Okay, last thing, I do it with my floor, whatever this is. somewhat like this. And environment, I'm not really sure if I have something in environment. Let's see. Whatever this is, just give it a material. Sounds like a metal structure of my fence and of my staircase. I'll just give this a material, and here we go. Everything looks okay, but there are some issues, and we want to have a look at these issues. The first thing is if I move here and I just see my wall, then you can see a gap. If you want to take this, grab this material, just take the material picker, and I just take the concrete, and I want to look at this concrete. And here again, you go into settings, and you just say two-sided on, and this issue is gone. Another thing is that the mapping of my material does not look good. And I want to change it. I want to change the UV for my object, and I just go into the settings. If you want to go into the setting, hold it for 1 second, and then the menu opens, and I change from object UV to cubic UV. And if I do this, nothing happened. What you have to do is you just have to go into your concrete again, and you just have to apply the material again. Was the wrong one, by the way. I think it was this one. And here we go. It looks really good. Everything is perfect. If I move inside and I just look into my model, then it already looks really good. There are a lot of material settings you can do, but this is not really important. Here there's a little bit of a mistake, and this mistake is in my Rhino model. These kind of objects are just on the wrong layer. If I switch on glass and off, it doesn't do anything. It is just connected to the walls. A very interesting thing is how to change things in Rhino and how to update your twinmotion model. It's really nice, this hierarchy of the first thing, importing, and then working on all these other steps until you export your twinmotion result. And you can see an import that I imported the FBX. And there's something like an update function. What I can do is I just go back into my Rhino model, and just to show you what is happening here, I just draw a sphere, somewhere like this. And this sphere, let's just see in what kind of layer this is. This is on the layer window frame. I think I'm fine with this. I just select everything again, and I export this. Export selected, and I export it as the same file. Really important, not another file name, just the same file. I overwrite it, and I just go into my settings, and I just try and just say very few polygons. I export it, and I just go again into twinmotion, and I just click on your refresh button, and here we go. Sorry. You can see your sphere. The sphere does not look good. What I have to go is I just go into export again, export selected, and I overwrite my file again. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, and I just increase my polygon count somewhere like this. And I go again into twinmotion and I just say update. And here we go, it looks really well. Another small thing I would like to show you, you have your color picker, and you can just pick different kind of materials. And there's also this option that you can change material view from single to multi. And if I do this, I can I have all the materials from my scene in this multi view, and you can just drag and drop, and you don't always have to go through the this menu and apply your materials however you want this, and probably also delete materials because you have probably double materials and things like this. The last thing we want to look at what it looks like with my SketchUp import. This is an older file, so don't the names of materials are different, but this does not matter. I just go into my isolate exit selection mode, and we see the staircases. And the staircases, you can already see they have two materials. If I just attach this material to my staircase, and I just go to my glass layer, just isolate my glass layer somewhere like this, and you can already see that this also has two different kind of materials. And I just apply my glass. Let's see, probably have to turn it somewhere like this. Looks good. And if I go again back to my staircase, somewhere like this, then you just see that something dodgy happened. There are some objects in my layer which are just not distributed properly. That's why they have the wrong material, and I also didn't find any way of how to fix it. I think it's a problem of the export function SketchUp in Rhino. It could be that this will be improved, but right now I would definitely not recommend using SketchUp for export because you can have issues with material. Thanks for watching.